Joining us this afternoon, Bill McCartney, an assistant coach at the University of Michigan. People in the Detroit area may remember Bill for his coaching in both football and basketball at Dearborn Divine Child. Did a very good job there. Let one of his prize recruits get away to Notre Dame. But
well, we didn't hold that against him when we hired him.
Otherwise, he does a pretty good job of talking to people for you. Bill, what's the key for you? Is it contact over and over with a young man to convince him that Michigan is the place to go, or is there something else?
Yes, I think, Larry, first of all, we have to get a line on all the good players in the Detroit area. One of the ways that we do that is we go out in the spring and we try to talk to the coaches and look at film and try to find out who the good players are. And then we follow that up with an extensive mailing system that we have. And then in the fall, we try to see them all play. We try to see that they see us play. And then, of course, in the winter, we get right into the meat of it where you're trying to sell your school, where you're getting in and you're talking to the parents and trying to do as much as you can to represent your school.
Are you gone on Friday nights then, watching high school games?
Oh, yes. I leave on Friday afternoon and go in and watch a game each Friday in the city in the PSL League, and then in the evening, I'm watching a Suburban or a Catholic League game each week.
How many of your coaches are doing that, Bo, on a Friday?
Well, we cover most of the Detroit area. We don't travel too far, Larry, because I like to have the coaches with the team.
They've got work to do at home.
Sure,
yeah.
we got a lot of work to do at home, but we do send our graduate assistant coaches and 2 or 3 of our varsity coaches every single Friday into Detroit.
How many times are you wrong on a kid?
Oh, well...
You see one game, he plays very well, but that may be the only game he does well in.
For that reason, we don't make quick judgments, and we try to look into it over the season. And another boy may not be recommended to us in May, and then he may put on a lot of weight and really come on strong. The program might change. He may get additional incentive, and so for that reason, we try to not to make quick judgments. We try to look into it.
It's pretty tough
thoroughly.
for you then to pick out the best high school players.
I think the best ones, the real blue chippers jump right out at you and you kind of know who they are pretty early. But the other young man who's maturing and progressing and who could end up being a great college player is kind of difficult right away to see.
That's the difficult choice.
Yes.
Well, if it's difficult for coaches to make that choice and find the very best players, think of the pressure on the young men themselves when they know there are college scouts in the stands watching them perform. 2 of Michigan's freshman players gave us their side of the story. And they would be Rick Leach, the quarterback from Flint Southwestern, who started in yesterday's game, and Russell Davis, a running back from Woodbridge, Virginia. Rick's father provides more insight. He's the athletic director for Flint's public schools. Both Leach and Davis were heavily recruited. They chose Michigan. In this interview, they talk about the pressures on them to make a choice.
The coach would let you know that scouts are in the stands and try extra hard and get a little extra yardage or be a little sharper with your passes. And I think being with a lot of times the scouts in the stands, you always try a little bit harder. I did anyway.
My friends always let me know, there's a coach from Alabama out there, a coach from this college, coach from that college, It's really, it scared me mostly, because I couldn't tell you beforehand how I was going to play the game, just go out there and give it what I had. And the coaches being up there watching you do this and do that, really scared me, and I didn't really know how it was going to turn out. I was really nervous before the game.
It was fun at first, getting the letters and everything, knowing colleges were interested in you, but near the end when the signing day came, it got to be a pretty big hassle with everybody calling you and bothering you all times of the night, and a couple times I'd just leave the house and get away for a while just to get away from it all.
Really, that's about the same for me. It was fun at first receiving the letters. I used to read the letters. Every letter I got, I used to read them. But then after a while, they all started to say the same thing, And as far as my trips, so I loved to get on that plane and go, But after the 3rd or 4th one, it started getting boring, and sitting up listening to coaches, and they mostly all say the same thing, what you can do for their program, And it got to the point where at school, I used to have to hide, My friends would tell me there's a coach in school, and I used to run and hide because they'd pull me right out of my class in a minute. Come talk to this coach. And that got to the point where my father had to tell him, don't pull me out of class to see any coach, unless he specifically stated that I could see a coach. Phone calls were really a problem. I had between 190 and 200 colleges, so you can imagine the phone calls from coaches or alumni, it really got bad.
Yeah, but I think that's where my dad really helped me. He had been a coach in high school, and he had coached pro ball players and so forth, and he warned me about some of the stuff that would be happening, and he prepared me how to handle it, and I was thankful for that, and I'm sure your dad did the same.
I would say there are approximately 100, perhaps 200 schools that had contacted Rick in regards to his football and baseball ability and his desire. There were some institutions that talked with Rick, and some coaches I felt were not sincere. They made some statements that perhaps that we would question.
A lot of small schools that told me that they would take care of me, you know, if I came down there, you know. If I needed transportation, I'd get this transportation, you know, but I didn't go for any of that. It just wasn't me, you know.
I had heard about a lot of the colleges giving kids money and taking them out, you know, and giving them real fancy dinners and stuff. But as far as that, I must not have been in the same boat as you, or not as highly recruited. But everything that when I was getting recruited, everything was pretty much, you know, on the line. They played it pretty straight.
I know myself. Wow, I know I went down to visit one school when I was talking with an athlete that was going down to visit the same school, and I was telling him about this girl that had written me from this particular school, you know. And he told me that a girl had written him from the same school, you know, and I had my letter, and the girl had sent me a nice, pretty picture, man. I looked at my letter, you know, and he pulled out his letter, and I looked, and it was the same thing, you know. She had wrote the same thing, you know, except put his name at the top of his letter and mine at the top of mine. And I said, oh, man, this is real, so...
He narrowed it down to about 10 right after the first of the year, and then we narrowed it down to 3 institutions, naming the University of Michigan, Michigan State, and Arizona. And the key to the whole program and to his choice was no question Bo Schembechler.
He just really impressed me, and that's what probably got me to come to Michigan. He seemed very honest when he came and said stuff. He had told you, had never lied to you, and it always come straight out. And he just laid out the whole program, what was in it for you, and I believed him, and that's probably why I came here.
Yeah. Coach Schembechler, he visited my house about 3 times. And the thing that really impressed me about him was that I was able to talk to him, because I had visited several schools, and I was to that point to where I was really bored, you know. And when a coach talked to me, I just sit and listen, you know. But when I came up to Michigan, Coach Schembechler was the first one I could really sit down and talk to. I really was holding a conversation with him. And plus the players, a great bunch of guys, you know, really. So that impressed me a lot, too. And that's what mostly made up my decision.
They didn't tell us, Bo, they were going to say things like that about you. Bill, did any of the guys you recruited to come back to you after they've played at Michigan for a while and say, listen, you didn't tell me what Bo was really like?
No, I've never had that happen, Larry.
What's the key? Is there a key to selling a man on the University of Michigan?
Yes, I think the school really sells itself. It's a class school. The academic reputation combined with the excellence in football just lends itself to the quality youngster who has a great future.
Winning helps a lot, huh?
Winning is important, too.